And then let's pray in and dive into the heart code. So I'm going to invite everyone to take a deep breath and close their eyes. And let's engage Mula Bandha and push the shoulders back to open up the heart, bringing our chin back slightly and looking up at the center of the forehead. And let's take a breath in from overhead into our bellies through the nose. And exhale through the soles of the feet. Breathing up from the earth into the belly. And exhaling through the crown. And one more deep breath in from overhead. And exhale down to the earth. You can relax the anchor points and just breathe normally. And so how grateful and thankful I am to be here, to be gathered here in this way. I'm grateful for the modalities, the teachings, the teachers, the individuals that cross our path, that allow us to engage with these practices that are supportive physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I'm grateful to all of the individuals that have been so dedicated to the evolution of humanity and the soul and our awakening to the truth of who we truly are. And to know that love truly is the only thing that matters. And that we get to allow it to be the thing that matters most. And so how good it is to come together in this way as we drop from the mind into the heart, this sacred space where the divine spark of spirit resides within each of us. And each time that we return to this space, we enter a field of divine love that is welcoming and reminds us that we are its beloved, in whom it is well pleased, and that this is a non-negotiable. No matter where we are on our journey of awakening, no matter what kind of day we have had, every time we return to this space, it is so well pleased, so happy every time we come home. And so we allow this pristine divine love to wash over us, to permeate every cell, every system, every tissue, every organ, to permeate our minds, our hearts, our souls. For this is our nature. We were created out of this love, for this is what God is. It is love without limit, without condition, without boundaries. It is infinite. Its divine intelligence maintains the order throughout all of existence, from the rising of the sun to the beating of our hearts, to the birth of stars and universes. It oversees all of its creation. And to know that it is everywhere present, there is no place or space where the presence is not, including right where each one of us is. For its breath is breathing us. Its life is animating our beingness. We are in it, and it is in us. And so we lean into this loving presence. We open our hearts, we open our minds, we open our arms. We make its love welcome, its divine guidance. We acknowledge the grace, that is present, and the peace that surpasses human understanding. And so I'm blessing our time together today, thankful in advance for all that has already begun to shift for us, all that gets to be released, old ways of identifying, of perceiving, of believing, of being, as we embrace, allow the shift to occur, where we enter the arena of thriving, of co-creatorship with spirit, of infinite possibilities, of inspiration, of abundance and prosperity, wholeness, peace, grace, and well-being. And so I'm just grateful and thankful in advance for all that is shared here tonight, all that is heard, all that is said, all that gets to be embraced, and all that gets to be released. And knowing that it has already occurred in the heart and mind of God, I give thanks and release this word by saying, and so it is. Amen.
It is.
So nice to see Chimpy. Welcome back. And Nikki, nice to see you. And Christy, hi. And Liz, I'm glad you're here. If you're able to join us on camera, that's good. If not, we'll at least want to hear your voice at some point, if possible. So there you are. How are you doing, dear? You're muted.
Oh, I did the wrong thing. I'm just gonna listen and watch.
All right.
Okay,
If you need us, we're here.
I see you.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I'd like to start by checking in, see how this week has gone for you. Have there been shifts in how you were able to be present with yourself as you were moving through something? What have you noticed? Or we can even share anything about the reading this week as well, the heart code, anything that jumped out at you, anything in the chapters before that is now catching your attention, anything at all. So, Lisa.
Hi. Hello. What was your question again? Because it hit me. Say it again.
Oh, did you notice if you were able to be present with yourself or whatever was happening in a different way as it was unfolding?
Yeah.
Did you notice what was different?
No reaction. It was boiling up in me to react to situation. And the situation has been happening steady every week. And so it was coming at me again, right? And I said, what did I say to myself? Don't react and go down the rabbit hole. If I remove the reaction, my response is laughter, because now I see clearly. Now I have clarity. So when I react, I'm gone. I'm gone, and the blame and the judge and all that. And then if I don't, I see it in another, and it's probably the true perspective. And I was able to also create boundaries to give myself some space and do my practices and come out on top, and being gentle and not being angry about the situation. So I feel more in control.
That's good. That's really good. Ooh. It's like I get the image of a feather blowing in the wind. And when we start implementing these practices, I feel like we're no longer at the mercy of the breeze.
Right, yeah. Yeah, like a feather, and then like a default, just being tossed to and fro by life situations and everything that comes at us, and you going and going instead of being creative or, taking control. Well, I don't know how to say it all because I'm just now experiencing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know how to articulate it, but I know that it's happening and I like it. And I hope to stay there.
Good. And I believe that it's the beginning of mastery. Right. We start to become masterful at this thing called life. That doesn't mean that there aren't challenges.
Right, right. Because Dr. Sue still has challenges. I catch that when she said, I did this. You know what I mean? And I see that because life happens, right? But let me tell you what I said maybe 6 months ago, maybe last summer. I said, I'm getting a master's degree in Lisa. That's what I said. I'm getting a master's degree in me. Forget the other.
I love that, Lisa. I love that. I love that. Thank you. Oh, how about you, Nikki? How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Hello, everybody. So actually just this afternoon, when I got home, I was doing some more reading on the book, and I got a text from my boyfriend, which he didn't mean to text to me. He must have meant to text someone else. And apparently he was frustrated and made some kind of comment like, I'm sorry I even asked. And I'm like, didn't ask me anything. But in the past, when something like that has happened and he's meant that, like I would go into a whirlwind. Like I'd just be blown away. So similar to Lisa, like I was just like, huh. It was just interesting. I was able just to fall into a place of love. And I recognize that he's coming from a place where he's not feeling a place of love. And I was just able to hold space for him. So, and to really remove me from being emotionally reactive and just be. So for me, that's huge because usually when it comes to him, I feel like the feather, a kite going in every which way. So I really embraced that moment this afternoon. I was just like, wow, I'm making some progress when it comes to the people I'm closest with. So that was really thank you, Lisa. That was just something I noticed out of the blue. So I was really happy about that. And then I did post this in the group too that maybe you can ask as well. So as I was reading, I was catching up on last week's reading and this week's reading. When it comes to practicing the different codes, do we have to practice them in order? Like, do they have this like a cumulative practice? Okay.
Well, so I care. So let me rewind. So part of the reason why she has it the way that she has it is because we're stacking up the column. And the column are the chakras, right? We start with the anchoring code, which is chakra 1, chakra 2, the next one was chakra 2, last week was 3, this week is 4. So like the first time that we're doing this, it's better to read it in order, right? So that we start to stack it up. But like moving forward or in between classes and stuff, no, go to wherever you because you're learning to take it to the body. So go to whichever area, right? And implement the practices for that area, that chakra.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Nikki, for sharing that. Curtis?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, this week it just showed up. I was just ready to forgive a little bit deeper about something, and that it was the forgiveness practice that's in spiritual liberation that Lisa had talked about before. I forgive you and set you free.
Yes.
And so I wrote it down, and I actually got a clicker because I was doing it 14 times. Here's my little clicker.
Oh, wow.
And having the picture in front of me and speaking to that person
Wow.
14 times. And then on the other one, of course, was them setting me free also. And so I did doing 14 times with that. And just a week and how it's affected me, and it affected everything around me. I can really feel it, but it's changing. I feel it changing me.
Wow.
Okay. And then the second thing that I noticed is that when I take a breath in to fill my lungs and my stomach, I'm tightening up my stomach. And I realized that, I saw that. And, and I kept practicing, taking a deep breath, but I would bring in my stomach and tighten my stomach up. So I was practicing poking my stomach out when I took a breath, softening the stomach. And it was really difficult because I'm so used to, if I take a breath, I'm tightening up. And I'm like, where did this, it's from playing sports.
Wow.
It's like taking that breath before I do something and, tightening up, getting, and so it's just like reprogramming my mind to soften in the stomach. So I've been having fun poking out my stomach, and sometimes I forget. And I will tighten up when I take a deep breath, all up in here. So that's two things that have showed up for me this week. And a lot calmer. I can just kind of watch it once again, Mula Bandha, when I remember. Yeah. So,
That's amazing. And we talked a little bit about that last week. I think it was Shar who asked, like, why does it hurt when she was breathing deeply? Why is it so hard in that area, like the solar plexus? And we were talking about how that's like one of our most vulnerable spots. There's not a lot of bone to protect that area, right?
mm,
So our muscles are like what engages, and they start to stiffen in that area as a form of protection. So one of the things that I was doing this morning, because our body, when we go into defense mode, right, like it clamps down this way.
yeah.
So we have to open it. So one of the things that we can do for that particular area is like when you're lying on the yoga mat with your belly to the ground, and then you raise up on your arms and do cobra. So like the back part of your body is like this, and then you lift up kind of like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like a snake.
Mm-hmm.
That helps to open that up too. So you can just get down on the floor and get down like everything flat, and then lift up on your arms to open it.
Give me 3 months before that shoulder.
That's right. I forgot about your shoulder. Okay.
Yeah. 3
You're
more
right.
months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So otherwise, yeah, just pushing it out, right? Like from
Yeah.
baseball grapefruit
Yes.
to start.
Interesting.
But I love it. I love it. Dr. Sue talks about all the different things that we're able to start to be present with and do as we start to open our hearts.
Mhm.
So I'm so grateful that the forgiveness is showing up to this degree, because this is pretty powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis.
Awesome. I love forgiveness. I do. I love it like love. You know how you love love
Yes.
or love God, or you love loving. I love loving, and I love forgiving. I do. I just love it. I don't know why, but I do. I don't have a hard time with it. I may be angry, fine. You know what I mean? But sorry.
Chimpy.
Hello. Um, so I'm just finishing chapter 7. But I have been reading and taking notes on the other chapters, and some things that have really struck me as being powerful to me was from, like, one thing I read from chapter 4. It says, if we practice, we can practice, but it would feel like if we were already understood. before the person even understands us or gets us. Like, we're not seeking out here anymore. It allows us to create change from the inside out rather than waiting for the outside in. And I mean, I just feel like that is happening. I know that, and I've always believed that, but then it's like giving you these practices to practice it, which is really exciting. And then the feeling code, I just think like that for me is I'm probably going to read that again and take some more notes, because I'm such an emotional being. And like, some people have a hard time accessing their emotions, and I have a hard time dialing mine down. Like, I'm the kind of person that's like, I want to say what I've done in the past is, like, if something happens, I'm very dramatic and verbal, and I found out that I freak people out sometimes, because I'm at work, and I'm an educator and an admin, a leader at a school, and we're all in a room, and I'm like, oh, that fucking son of a bitch, I'm gonna poke him right in the eye, and people are like, I'm just kidding, I'm a little annoyed, that's all. I'm like a little annoyed. That's all I am, is a little annoyed that I had to send the email a second time. But I just come from, I don't know if it's also because I'm ESL, like English is a second language, and so like my parents were super expressive and would use some words in English probably really comfortably, that like, there's the words that we'll use in English that are pretty foul, that like I'll try to use the same words in Spanish or Greek, and my parents are like, no. So it's like the feeling wasn't there with them. Anywho, my point is like, feeling it, even that verbalness from me is kind of naming it.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. Oh my God. And the other one that is so powerful. So that's been interesting, like not giving it all of that story. Just, it does, it doesn't, anyway, so that's been interesting. And another one that I'm just like, I've been doing this all week long. This is just my new favorite thing to do, is pulling the focus back on me.
Yep.
And I'll be sitting in a room, and I'll be in a meeting, and all these people are talking, and I'm like, da, 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 and all of a sudden I'll notice I am literally leaning forward with all of my tendrils out at everybody, and all of a sudden I'll just like pull back, and I'll like, do all the 4 points, and, and just take a breath, and I'll pull my focus back into me, and my peripheral will open up, and it's just so energizing. Like, I am not arriving on Friday exhausted anymore.
Wow.
I mean, that is a flipping miracle. That is worth the cost of this class then some, because I would tell my husband, I'm like, I don't know. I love what I do for a living, but it exhausts me. I am in people's energy all day long. Lots of people, kids, teachers, I need. And I'm like, and I'm by the end of the week, I'm melting. And now that I'm like pulling my energy back in and letting the focus stay here and continually regrounding, it's just like none of that has changed, but I'm just not engaging and clamping onto it. And I arrive on Friday, I'm gardening, I have energy at the end of my day. I don't even know who I am anymore. Okay. I don't know who I am. It's amazing. I'm not, and my husband and I got in a little something. I came back out and go, I was just hungry. He's like, I know. I mean, like, I'm not like holding on to stuff, Nikki. I am just like, it's amazing.
I love it, Chippy. I love it. And it's true. I think that there is like an overexpending of energy when it's constantly going out, right? As opposed to staying here. So
yeah, she talks about that, like the disbursement. It makes you, it weakens you, and it causes, it's like having 7 channels on at once, and I mean, that related to me. I was dispersed. That was like the big, I could relate to that. And then some.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, and that's that's like, part of the big picture overall goal, right? Is how do we gather ourselves back from the splat over and over and over again?
One time I had a really bad pain in the side of my foot, and I went to the doctor and the PT, and he said, it's a knot. And he said, you think it's a bone? I'm like, I'm pretty sure I need surgery. And he was like, it's just a knot. And he goes, and I can massage it, we can do things, but unless you change your gait and the way you walk, it's not going to get better. And I was like, oh my God, who can do that? Like, I thought about it 20% of the time, probably, maybe. But whenever I thought about it, I would walk that way. Maybe 10% of the time. Completely fixed my foot. I'm like, we're putting too much pressure on ourselves. Just do your best. It'll make a difference. And then that'll grow, and then that'll grow. My foot's completely healed. Isn't
Amazing.
that crazy? That's what that taught me. The lesson of the foot.
Thank you, Chimpy. Tracy.
Okay, glad to be here this week. It was hard. I couldn't do those exercises. It's like I needed to be in class and see you do it. But I did do the reading and caught up. And it really struck me in chapter, I think it was chapter 7, where she talks about how when her mother died, that it brought her to a knowing. And so I had my mother, I was working 16-hour days. I'm an attorney, so I was doing 16-hour days in Washington, D.C. So I've done those kind of jobs where you just work yourself to the bone. And so I was coming home for my 50th birthday. And so I'm flying home, leave D.C. at 6:30, land at midnight. And instead of my mother picking me up, someone else picked me up. And I was like, well, where's Mom? Like, oh, you know, he didn't want to tell me, but when we got there, she had passed away that day on my 50th birthday. And so, and not sick, you guys, not sick, natural causes. She was only 70. They said natural causes, just gone. And that was my best friend. I'd already lost my dad, my brother. So it was just her. And, but I really related when she said, because that happened in 2011, November of 2011. And since then, I don't care about anything else but finding God and lining up, you know, and it's just miraculous that, because I was one, I've always loved God, always know that God was a good God. I was raised like that, like God is a good God, no matter what happened, is you. Take a look at what you're doing, you know, so we were raised like that. So I've always had that, but to come into Agape and to meet you, Reverend Cynthia, it's given me the tools. I used to do church, but it gives me the moment by moment tools to handle myself, like we're learning with this breathing, you know. And Curtis, I can understand what you're saying about that breathing, because I played sports too. And I'm like, I can't get my stomach to go out. I'm like, okay, push out, you know. So I'm trying to squeeze the labia and push the stomach out. I'm like, you know, I'm working, but I'm going to work it and I'll get it. And I've learned it's coming now. I've just relaxed more in the breathing. I don't try to do it so hard. Just start small, you know, and it's working like that. But every chance I get, because you know, I manage a couple artists now, and it's always something, and you know, and a lot of ego, you know, but you know, and I'm really good with dealing with egos. That's not the problem. But to keep myself from getting hot, okay, and do the curse out every now and then and read somebody, you know, so because I'm like that, I'll read every now and then, you know, with love, but it'll be a reading. And so, but I've been using my breathing, and I mean, it just helps tremendously. But I'm really looking for this first, because I know I've watched the miracles. Cynthia, I've heard the stories. I listened to Reverend Michael's stories, and you know, I haven't seen the colors or the things like that. I don't see things, but I feel things. I can sense things that come to me, and I follow that. So I just really been practicing letting go. I don't care what it is, like the story part that I think Chimpy was just talking about, you know, I don't even give the story a chance. It's like, nope, go to work, go to work. So I've gotten to that point where I can at least recognize it. Now, the next second is in the air. I could run that way or run this way, but I do recognize it and have a chance to slow myself down and address it. So the tools are marvelous. I was just thinking I need to do this year round. We need this class for a year. So I might get it by then. So thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. And I was thinking the same thing, because it's almost like we can't let too much time go by in between before we jump back in, and we can we'll take it deeper. But I also want to give you guys a break like for summer. So we'll take a poll and see what works for you guys. Thank you for that share, Tracy. And Marilyn, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? I've been having some troubles with my internet. It's good to see everyone. This week, remember last week I was sharing with you all that I heard the voice just said to rest. And this week, it was to lead and love. It was a whole bunch of things. I was being pulled in all different directions with facilitating. I facilitate 3 support groups a week, and 2 of them are in person and one is on Zoom. And so all these things are coming at me, and people are, wanting, different things from me. And it was just like, okay, just breathe. And just what kept coming up is to lead and love. And that's what I was getting out of the chapter 7 is, okay, I'm acknowledging what people want, with love, instead of being reactionary. Like my usually go-to is to kind of spin out. And then I was like, okay, okay, this person is on their own journey. And that's what I had to keep reminding myself. Everybody's on their own journey, their own path. And I can only give so much. And so to be able to keep that boundary, that's a big thing with me, because I would feel bad, if I couldn't be there for whatever the person needed. And it was like, okay, if I set the boundary that if I set aside this much time for this person, that's as much as I was gonna do, So I was really just like, okay, I know that I'm coming from a place of love, no matter what it might sound like. And so that really just kind of really helped me get through the week, because it was definitely, some challenges, in where I had to hold firm to what I said, as far as it was an incident that happened while I was facilitating on Zoom. We got Zoom bombed, and it was very traumatic. And so I had to really just stand firm on adding some safety issues as far as the meetings and different things. And it was some pushback with it. But so, yeah, and I just said, you know what? It kept coming up, lead in love, and it'll all work out. And so, yeah, so that's been my experience from this week. And I stayed firm in love. Okay, this is coming from a place of love that I'm saying this, and not apologizing. That's the biggest thing, because I would always, oh, I'm sorry. And then and then I get mad at myself. What am I apologizing for? This is, so yeah, so that was what I took from this week.
Oh my God, who are you? Who are you? You guys are all changing before my eyes. In a wonderful, good way. Because I know that can catch you off guard when somebody bombs you on Zoom, and you're you're already with your heart open because you're there to support, and then for that energy to come in, and for you to be able to
Zoom bomb. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either. I was going to ask.
It's like when people somehow hack into your Zoom meeting and they start saying things that might be mean. Right? And you think,
yeah, they're not people that should be there. They don't like, right? You're talking about like a troll. Like we had, when we first started with virtual school, oh my gosh, these kids are so smart, and they would come in and inappropriately bomb our meetings. Yeah, Zoom bomb our meetings.
Oh my God. I was doing an interview with Reverend Wendy not too long ago, and that was the first time I experienced it. Some of you guys were there, right? And somebody started speaking like profanity, and I'm like, oh, are we not church? It caught me. It was my first experience.
Yeah, I had heard about it, but this was the first time that it happened. And luckily the meeting was I was reading the principles of support. So I'm not looking at the camera, I'm looking down, and I hear these noises, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And I look up, and what people's faces is pornography, videos, just like, and I'm like, oh my goodness, let me, trying to shut it down. And it was just a thing, but what came out of it was with the issue of safety. And I facilitate support groups, but I also attend groups for my own thing. And then it was this common thread that kept popping up was one of the people who attend several groups that I attend kept bringing up the issue of facilitators stating, because of the incident, revamping how they run the group. And so she kept bringing it up, and then I just, and that's why I was like, okay, just, she didn't direct the comments or anything at me directly, but, it was still affecting me. And I was just, okay, well, I know what I did was out of love, and I had to keep going, from that space, because otherwise, before it would have really sent me like spiraling into, a deep depression over, what somebody said because of a decision that I made. So yeah, this book study is just awesome. I'm really learning to apply, because I know when I speak in groups, I'm like, okay, we have the tools, but if you don't know how to apply them in the moment, they're just tools. And so it's all coming, real to me. So yeah,
Right. And it's funny.
being able to apply it in the moment. Yeah.
And I have a client that will go long periods of time, between sessions. She hasn't wanted to participate in classes yet. It's been private, like private tutoring with regards to the energy codes. But she's like, she goes, I'm lazy. I know I'm lazy. And I'm like, we all are, right? In the beginning, like we all are. This all kind of feels like a lot of work, and then it just starts becoming more natural over time. I promise. Especially when you start to see how it interrupts the momentum in moments and experiences, or how it helps you. You notice that your upset lasted a fraction of what it used to. We don't take things quite as personally. We allow other people's perspectives to be just as accurate as our own. Like, I don't know, I think I mentioned it to you guys that I think 2 of my neighbors use drugs. And they come and they
Well, I remember you said that it was 1 or 2 neighbors that you just felt no, let me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what I said. Okay, so
Yeah.
But is it a smell drug? Like you smell it through the airs? Like California?
She just felt it. Yeah.
I felt
Oh.
it, and then since then they come and they rat each other out to me, and I'm like, I don't want to talk to either one of you.
Yeah.
Right. So like the lady and said something about that neighbor, and then he sees that she's been at my door, so then he wants to come and talk to me, and I'm like, I work from home. You need to leave me alone. So
Wow.
Yeah, but which
Oh,
one
no.
broke your Buddha statue?
right, but yeah, when
What
the
happened?
That's what I
so
want to know. Which one?
Yeah.
so
broke
last week, right before I came to class, close the door.
They're
Uh-oh.
listening.
I do this.
We like go in the middle of the house.
No, so last week, just before class, we have a Buddha statue that we bought during COVID, and we drove to Arizona to the big crystal yearly thing that's held in Quartzsite. It's like all the vendors from all over the world come. So we had gotten this big Buddha that's about half my size during COVID, and we've moved from California to Vegas, and then from our apartment here. And we had been so very careful with it, right?
Mhm.
And just before class, went out into the patio because we had just planted some trees. We put the statue where it belonged. And I'm sitting there admiring all the work my husband did. And I go, what is that line across its neck? And I walk over and I'm like, somebody beheaded the Buddha. And then I look at his arm and he has a line here and a line here, and the arm fell off. And I'm like, shh. And I'm like freaked out because the Buddha had been by the front door. And I'm thinking, that man who does drugs got mad because I wouldn't talk to him and he killed my Buddha. And so
Wow.
It was him, huh?
no. And then so I even thought maybe it was the movers. Maybe the movers broke it and glued it and didn't say anything. And I never noticed because it was by the front door. I just hadn't looked at it. But then when I realized that a piece of the arm fell, I go, it wasn't glued. If it had been glued, it would have fallen apart when Jesse moved it from the front to the back.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, Jesse broke it. Jesse, my husband.
Oh, he's the one that did it.
Always the husband.
Oh,
Or the
him,
kids.
it's a hate
Come
crime.
on now. Did you see her go shut the door? You knew who broke it.
I was convinced.
Realize how
Who said I was convinced? That was hysterical.
Present.
It was like they were
Yep.
judged, condemned. We had
That
them
was the
locked up.
that was the gut
Girl.
feeling. That's it.
so I told Jesse just before class, I'm like, who beheaded the Buddha? And I go, why didn't you say something? Because I didn't want to make you mad. And
Aw.
but I was like, I was blaming the neighbor. And he goes, well, that's something you have to work on. And then that like pissed me off.
Oh, no, he didn't.
The student becomes a teacher.
You got a problem now. That's
It's an
So,
ingenious cop out.
So
oh my God, that was smart.
right. But I
Clever.
realized how unlovingly I had been holding my male neighbor. Because I don't have an opinion, right? So I'm like, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. That's your choice. Live and let live. And I live this life, so let me live mine, please. Like, don't come knocking on my door.
Yeah.
I
You
think
can
that-
invest in a doghouse for Jesse, or maybe not.
Yeah. But here's another thing. A long time ago, when I first started on my path to spirituality during my first trip to Sedona, and I was in dire straits at the time. I was suicidal, nobody knew. And this was my last ditch effort to stay on the planet. So I went to Sedona and I was staying in somebody's guest house, and the practitioner that had coordinated my trip was there to pick me up. And as I walked to meet her, I knocked over a vase and it broke, right? And I felt awful because I was staying in somebody's house. And she said to me, you just broke something. You just broke a habit that no longer serves you.
Wow.
So the bigger the item that has broken over the years, I'm like, that was a big one, right? So as angry or upset as I was about the Buddha, I'm like, he just broke a big old habit that no longer serves. That was a big old statue. That's what you guys missed last week.
And your neighbors that get to be your, what do they call them? Your noble friends in the Buddhist tradition, those who are teaching us how to hold boundaries with kindness and love. I have a little situation too. And like, it's good. My husband's like, you can say all of that. You can put your boundaries in, but you could be a little more gentle too. And I'm like, this is also true, and it doesn't mean I have to let people in, but it's good. I'm also like, this is my gig, so this is our playground to practice and, get better at kicking the ball.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
this made me think of something that happened last Friday. Me and my husband went to dinner, and it was a new place in a neighborhood. And I don't know if it was the owner, but this guy came to each table and said, hello, how are you doing, enjoying the meal? And our table, he walked right past it. And I said to my husband, I noticed it, but I didn't let it ruin the evening. And I was like, I know the work that I'm doing is working, because before that, I would have obsessed the entire dinner.
Wow.
Like, why didn't he say anything to us? Why, and I just brought it back to us. I'm like, I'm good. We're enjoying ourselves. I don't know the situation. Maybe these are regulars, whatever. And I was fine, but I could see it was almost like I was observing how I would have behaved. And I was just okay with it. But I also acknowledged it at the same time. And so that I didn't even think about it until now when we were going through those, the smallest things that we do. Yeah.
The little changes.
Awareness. Oh, sorry. Awareness is beautiful.
Yeah.
Reverend Michael always speaks about awareness. And that's how I'm noticing things too. The clarity and being aware of what's happening and not just being like the feather, like you said, right?
Yeah, and I was with Dr. Sue from Thursday through Sunday this past week online at the end of a training. And it was interesting because I went from Dr. Sue's training to facilitating prac on Saturday all day. And it was at a point where the students have to write their own eulogies and present their own memorial services. So that's a really big experience for the students, right?
Your own?
Yeah,
your own? Wow, I've never
Almost
heard of
there.
that.
Yeah, the last 5 weeks, the focus is on death. So you have to contemplate your own mortality. So as I was watching everybody's memorial services and coming in and out of Dr. Sue's training, like my heart was just like wide open, right? And it has not been able to like close back down since Saturday. So I feel like I'm walking around like with it exposed, but maybe this is the way we're supposed to be, right? So even just being aware, like it feels like there's a constant knot in my throat right now. Like I want to cry. There's no reason for it other than maybe recognizing the beauty in every individual's life, right? As they were showing pictures from the time that they were little to the time, like the end of their life, or when they talked about dying at 90 years old. But it was between hanging out in this conversation with you guys, Dr. Sue, and that, I'm just like, in a good way. Chimpy.
It's interesting because I'm just reading chapter 7 now, so I'm not done with it. And of course it's the heart one, and of course that's where I'm stuck. And the idea of walking around with literally you just gave me anxiety. Like close it up, girl, close it up. I'm doing really good with not taking it personal and bringing my energy back to myself. But we start talking about vulnerability and showing up vulnerable, and I'm like, ooh, I get verklempt. So I am really curious, because I know part of this is old habity stuff that's stuck in people pleasing, and that's what I'm closing down per se. But there's also like, there's just a lot. So I'm just really down and interested in listening to and learning more about how to have my heart open, because I think I'm closing off other things too by not having it open.
Right. So for me, my first experience was level 2 of Dr. Sue 2018, going to Cancun and doing a 4-day workshop with her. And the emphasis was on the heart those 4 days. And when we came back, it was time for treatment, where the nurse comes to my house and then she gives me my treatments intravenously. And I remember yelling to the nurse because I felt a pain the size of a quarter in the center of my chest, but the pain was growing. It was getting bigger. So I yelled out to the nurse because I was in my room and she was in the living room. And I go, I think I'm having a heart attack. And she goes, if you are, she goes, your left arm would be hurting. And I was like, it is. She goes, that's your right. And I was like, oh, okay. So she got concerned and she stopped the medicine for a little while, but then the pain dissipated and so she put it back on. And I wondered, I'm like, is it because of the heart work that I did over the weekend with Dr. Sue that my heart was hurting? Is it because my heart was is opening that it hurts because it's been closed to a certain degree? And I want to say that might be part of it. So as our heart does start to open, don't freak out. Just like we're noticing that our solar plexus hurt when we're trying to open them, the heart really is no different. If it hasn't been open to the degree to which we can get it, there might be some tenderness in this area as it starts to open more. Lisa.
Yeah, when I did the thing with Dr. Sue over the weekend, I noticed it was behind the heart.
Mm-hmm.
It was behind the heart, and I knew that it was still a heart. I think I heard her say it. I don't know. It was behind the heart, and then it was started burning, like up my back, going on my back, and I knew that what it was. It was that whatever energy, and it needed to be worked out. So I kept going, but it was painful. And every time I do it, it's happening. But awareness is telling me you got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't freak out. It's not really different from the solar plexus or feeling the pain anywhere else where we haven't been in there and stretched it out, in a while. So one of the things that surprised me that as we work with the heart code, she talks about what some of the things that the energy of this chakra, what it facilitates. And she mentions in the video that's on the resource page for the book that it bridges the masculine and the feminine energy, which we all have. And we're moving through a period in the evolution of humanity right now where that's really melding, right? Where all men and all women have both. But for hundreds of years, we've been coming at it more from the masculine, analytical, energetic. And so now we're shifting to the feminine, right? So, and that's happening for all of us. It's being facilitated, by the universe for us. But that's part of what the energy of this chakra helps with, to bridge the masculine and the feminine so that we're not too much this way, too much that way. It also talks about how it's this energy that allows the two worlds to become one, right? So it allows us to bridge heaven with earth. So chakra 1, 2, and 3 are like the earthly characteristics of our being. And then we get to 4, and from 4 on, these are like the higher realms. But it's at this place where they meet. And let me just read Liz's note. What do I do? Physically, I cannot do the exercises. So even just being present with our heart, like I said, since Thursday, I think, or Friday, my heart has been feeling heavy. A typical reaction when my heart feels heavy is, what's wrong? What did I do? What did I not do? How do I make it stop? And so the difference this time is, no, I'm just going to hold myself. I'm just going to hold my heart. I'm just going to hold whatever it is that I'm feeling. When this thing is done with me, it will go away, but I'm not going to try to force it to hurry or to stop. Right? So even just becoming like unconditionally present with our heart and our emotions and whatever it is that we're feeling, I think will allow whatever's looking to take place, right? Well, and last week, I became very aware of the judgments that I had around, my neighbors, and that I thought he would behead my Buddha. So I'm like, that's not very loving, it's like I'm trying not to be judgmental, but underneath there's still some judgment going on. So okay, it's working me. Can I just stay with it? Right? No judging, no additional judgment on top of that. Let me just deal with it. So that's part of Curtis.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Liz.
There we go. So it's interesting that you say that, and because of the forgiveness that I was working through, it's there. It feels like just weight upon me, and just searching for what tool that I could use. And so that's what was going on with me. I'm walking around with it, like this bag on my back, and it's, I guess it's like bringing it around to the front of me and just looking at it and just being with it. Like I said, looking for a tool, and that showed up for me, and that's where I'm at right now. It's still there, but I got to put something on it.
So basically, you got to drape your love on it.
Yes. Yes. That's it.
That's all we
That's
can
it.
do. It's the only thing that will work. Is our own, right? For ourselves, for the other individuals, for the whole experience, and then just hold it until it stops crying.
They're playing their role. I'm grateful. They played their role.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Okay.
And we'll do a meditation today called Generating Loving Presence. So that'll help us all, I think, as well. Lisa.
Can Kara go before me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Kara.
Hi. I've had an interesting week, so I really enjoyed this chapter. And I don't know what it was about last week. It was challenging. Last week was a challenge. But one thing that happened, and I thought it was very interesting because I hadn't expected this to come up. So I have had ongoing challenges, like it's kind of one of the hard things that I deal with boundaries. My kids in relationships. And I actually, there's an author that I found at Agape like 13 years ago. And she writes mostly for parents, but she had a master class, which I missed, but there was a book, it was a random book called Boundary Boss. So I kind of started listening to that while doing this. And I have this interesting thing that it's not new. It's something that I've had for a while, where I almost feel like, and I know this isn't the case, but I feel like there's a juxtaposition between like my loving presence and setting boundaries. And it's like, I don't quite have the skills, like I don't know where the lines are. Like, okay, am I loving? I'm just loving. But then where do the boundaries come in? Because then I'm being loving, yet I'm not setting boundaries. And I know that's not it, but it's like when it comes down to it, especially in the moment, it's like the muscle's not built, I'm getting better over time, but it's been really interesting to notice that. And when she shared a lot about boundaries in the Heart Code, which I was like, while I'm listening to this other book, and I still like in this moment, as I'm helping a high needs son who needs a lot of help with homework. And it's like, I'm just giving. I'm like her mom. I'm always giving, and it's coming from a place of love. And I'm like, well, I need to, it doesn't serve others. It doesn't serve others or myself
Mm-mm.
And I don't know, I'm just kind of sitting in that place of, I guess, confusion. It's uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable, especially if we've been a certain way. Like she talks about her mom, right? And how there was too much going out, not enough coming in. So the break, the fracture in her leg had to happen so that she would have to be provided for and taken care of to allow it to come in. But we don't have to experience, you know, the fractured ankle, the accident, the bankruptcy, these big events for we can start dealing with these things internally on our own. You have an awareness of it to whatever degree you can, because she says something to the effect of, there is a thing, it's possible to be loving and still hold somebody's feet to the fire simultaneously. Right? That doesn't
Yeah.
that doesn't make it it doesn't mean that you do not love them, right? But it takes us some practice if that was not modeled for us from the beginning.
Well, yeah, and I think it's centered in self-love. I mean, we kind of had this came up in an earlier class.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known that, right? It's like putting emphasis on self-love, and that loving, you know, you can love someone from a distance. Which I'm not going to do with my son. You know, so it's especially challenging with the kids, man.
It is.
Yeah. Yes. And I don't want to, like, there's awareness, and I do feel like there's a lot in, you know, like I really enjoy that generating loving presence, because when you get in that space, it's much more spacious. It's a more spacious viewpoint where the mind can disengage from trying to figure it out, which is what I do a lot of, like getting out in front of things and clearing the path for everyone. Not my job.
No.
Not my job. So yeah.
Right. And that's part of the protective personality. The protective personality wants to stay, you know, 5 steps ahead to keep everything moving smoothly. So if I can control my outer environment, then I'm okay. Or I can work in here internally, and then this projects out onto my experience, creating from in here. Right. So this is unsustainable. At some point, we're going to step off a sidewalk and it'll break.
Yeah, I'd like to avoid that.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
Thank you, Kara.
Thank you.
We got to start somewhere, right? We start wherever we are. We meet ourselves where we're at.
Yeah. It's just, you know, it's not a new thing. It's not a new awareness. So I am grateful for this teaching, because this is a different perspective, taking it to the body, all of those tools that disengage the mind, basically, to some degree.
And even draping love over the mind, or not pushing the mind away or viewing it as, I got to get rid of you, but actually like visualizing it and bringing it into an embrace and loving it. And if it's like if somebody were to reach out and hug you in the middle of an upset, that it has a similar effect on the mind.
Yes, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of it like that. Thank you. Yeah, like accepting your entire self. Yeah. Thank you.
And Chimpy, I agree with you. I was the same way, probably up until maybe, you know, a few months ago. Because we work on these things in layers over time, right? It's like we start to undo patterns, and it's not usually like a clean undone. It's usually in degrees, right? Over time. So, yeah. Chimpy?
What?
Did you want to say something about your comment?
No, I mean, just what you said, I that cracks me up that you said you just got there a couple months ago. I'm like, I'll be offering the energy codes class in 1 month. I'm just kidding, but I mean, you know, it's allowing me to maybe open up my heart a little bit, because that's one of the reasons I close it down, because I'm like, I can't take on your problems. So I just can't love you. And you can love, I am learning, I can love people and say, no, thank you, or I don't want to do that, or I'm not going to, I don't know. Yeah, and still really love you. And it's okay if they don't believe that.
Yeah. I told you my family became ferocious when I started focusing on me, because the attention that used to go to them got redirected this way, and it did not sit well with them, right? It's like I would get voicemails as I would come out of class from Agape, and I thought that there was like a rabies dog that had left me a voicemail.
I think too, it's it's hard to explain this, but like, yeah, like definitely there's people that are like I have, you know, that my family was the first people to come for me. But it was interesting because there were a lot of other people that I thought were gonna be mad or cut me out, or, you know, and they were just fine with the boundary. And
Yeah.
that's what I didn't give a lot of people the opportunity. When I started opening up my throat chakra, but so many people are sad about it, let's be clear. But there were a lot that were like, yeah, that's totally cool. I'm glad you let me know. And I'm like, what? Like, I have been discombobulating myself, contorting myself to, you know, and I'm like, wow. So, you know, I did have to figure out how to deal with those who were still going to, you know, had the claws in and were like, wait, and that's a beautiful lesson in and of itself. But that other lesson was those who were ready to meet me right where I was.
Right. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up that aspect of that experience too, because you're right. It's like you know, sometimes we underestimate people. So giving them the benefit of the doubt. So honoring our own desires, and then giving people the option, right, of whether they can meet us where we are. And they can say yes, or they could say no, and either one is fine. So long as I'm saying yes to me.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a beautiful quote on TikTok where I get most of my information. And it said, I can't tell you how to love. All I can do is watch how you love and decide whether or not I want to participate. And that's kind of what opening my mouth did. It was like an opportunity for us to participate. And that was from work to friends to my, you know, my spouse, and, you know, really surprised by him. He's just a gem, let me tell you. He's like, cute. I'm like, wow, you're great. He's like, I cannot believe you didn't know this. I'm fantastic. You know, it's just like showing up. He's like, I am. You're welcome.
Oh my God. So yeah, right. Let's give people the benefit of the doubt and then let it be okay either way. Beautiful. Thank you, Chimpy. You ready, Lisa?
Yeah. Yep, that's really good. I almost forgot what I was going to come on, because so much was said that was so good. I love this. But yes, I do. And like the other person said, I don't know who said it, but everybody's on their own journey. And whatever they're putting out, I can see it now. I'm like, uh-oh, I see where they are on their journey. They need to do some work here or there. You know what I mean? And I'm giving them that space and that wiggle room and not taking it personal. But what I wanted to address was Liz, because she said I wanted to say something. She said, what if she couldn't do the exercises? Okay, so when I first came to Agape, I couldn't think. I had such massive panic and anxiety attacks to where they were just really bad. I couldn't think. So, but what I did was I wrote down my affirmation, a few, what I can handle, anything I can handle. I just did it all the time. And then when it comes to the exercises, well, I just had a flare up a week or two ago, and literally could not move without yelling. You know what I mean? It'll just grab me. And so what I did was I just breathed. And I think that Dr. Sue said that too. You know, one lady, she gave an example that she couldn't do the exercises. When she did, she hurt her shoulder. And so she went and back and just did the breathing. So I think that whatever we do is going to be good enough, right? Yeah. Whatever we can do is good enough for where we need to be until we can get somewhere else, just as long as we keep doing something, like Reverend Michael said.
Lisa,
huh?
It's the lesson of the foot.
Yeah,
I did maybe 10% and I healed my foot.
Yes, I love the lesson of the foot. Yes. Namaste.
Right, it's true, because all of us can breathe and all of us can generate love. So if we breathe into the area and we bring our own love to these areas, it's said that love is the most powerful solvent in all of the universe, right? So starting to utilize what's here within our tool belt, within our arsenal. And again, it's like, you know, when we're not feeling good and someone just comes and hugs us, or we might be thinking that we're so angry. I think Reverend Michael shared that story on Sunday about
the basketball game,
basketball court, and how the guy just hugged him, and the bully ended up breaking down and crying in his arms.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the power that love has to heal. And it's the only thing that's real, right? So if it's possible, right, if you're not in excruciating pain and it's possible for us to breathe into these areas, even that we can't do the exercises or the yoga, but even just bringing our own loving presence.
Yeah, because it was hurting for me to breathe, because like doing the deep belly breath, because of the hip pain, when I would do it, it would literally hurt. So I said, okay, well, I'll just do it soft then. I'm gonna still do it, but I'm gonna do it soft where it doesn't hurt, you know. And I just still, you know, did what I could until I got better. And it matters. It's, you know, you got to pat yourself on the back, right, for doing what you can do.
Yes, in fact, you guys have all been doing so great. Do that, please. Pat yourself on the back for an amazing week. Amazing couple of weeks.
I'll pat you on the back too. And you too, Reverend Cynthia, everybody. I'll pat you on the back. Everybody's so awesome.
Thank you. Kendra.
Hi. Well, last week I wasn't here because I was in my anger. I know I shared with you guys before about the neighbors. And I was like, oh, I'm all good. Life is good. I did what I needed to do. And they came back angry as hell. And I don't even know why they were angry. We were all in our beds and they were hearing something. Yes, the kids were on their iPads. It was 8:30 at night. I just took a shower, got in my nightgown, and was in my covers, Netflixing and chilling, me and my ego. So, and my husband is so like you, I can really chimpy. Yeah, my husband is just falling right along. But yeah, he answered the door, and I could hear them, and I was like, I am not. This spirit kept me in that bed because if I get out of bed, it's going to be an argument. Cops are going to be called because I'm over it with them. They're very nitpicky. And anyway, my husband just said, no problem. Went about his business the next morning, and what we woke up and it was all over me. And then even he was like, I said, honey, I'm so proud of you the way you handled it. You're just like, and he doesn't even pray or meditate. He's just like, no, he's just a loving person. Anyway, but yeah. So I got on my reacting drama, and called the management corporate and sent emails, and then I saw the wife after we all took our kids to school. I knew she comes back. So I waited. And I was like, I'm confronting, what is the deal? I can't. It was all in my stomach, everything, all this nervousness, and my head is clouded, and it's all over my body. So I just asked her, and I said what I had to say to her, and she's just like, oh, it's the same. I said, the stress and frustration. I was like, what is the issue? Like, what is it? I was like, this is a shared community. And she's like, yeah, I know. And I was like, and what really pushed my buttons, because I had made up a story that they do this to all the neighbors. That's probably why the other people left, moved out. But she made a point to say to me, oh, the other neighbors did not do this. And I just froze, looked at her, because I'm like, that just goes against everything I already thought about you, the judgment, back to last week, and anyway, so I said what I had to say to her, blah, blah, blah. It's still there. But in that time, I said, can't do this anymore. Everywhere we move, we bring this with us. Like, everywhere I go, every apartment we live in, it's something. Either we're on the bottom and the people don't sleep at night. And now we moved to the top. We moved to a nicer place, a bigger place, and 3-bed. Everybody has their own bedrooms, and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, and then from day 2, they've been complaining about everything, and it's not even, and it's during day hours, So anyway, but there I go with that story again. But it just took me away. I couldn't pray. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't do anything. And then I just kept saying, what is the good? What is the good? What is the good? So anyway, I went into Dr. Sue's, she's been having these little
The challenge.
challenges. Yeah. So what I came up with, what is happening? Because like someone else was saying, these thing keeps coming to me. Like, I know people have real problems, like life is good. And at the same time, there's so many amazing things happening with my husband, my family, myself, work, and blah, blah, blah. But then this, anyway, so when I heard you guys speaking, I was like, you were saying that you guys take care of other people. And I was like, you know what? I can't take care of nobody. I dodge. I work from home. I don't go in the office anymore. I don't have to deal with people on the road. Life is good for me. Like, so there's nobody to take advantage of me, because I'm out. And I use that same, I just realized I'm using that same mentality with my issues. When things come up, I'm deflecting.
Oh,
I'm Mighty Morphin Power Rangering them. I'm out. I check out. I'm mentally out. So I believe I'm still trying to figure out why this keeps coming up, but I'm listening.
I think you're getting it. I think you're getting it. And I know if you would have asked me a few years ago what my spirit animal was, I would have told you it was an ostrich for a long time.
Mm.
Anytime there was an issue, it was like,
yeah, because it's like, if there's someone I don't like, there was a mom that didn't like my daughter and didn't like the way, so what do? On the phone, block them, don't talk to them. Like, I'm out. I'm not dealing with it.
Right. But as you come inside and you become aware and you bring your own love to it, and you're not trying to control how you feel by reorganizing the outer environment, you're coming in here, this changes that. Right. I know my mom sent me a video last night, I think, and the title of it was The Hypocrisy of Our Children.
Yeah. Yep.
I was like, I just stopped by her place not long ago, visited for an hour and a half, took her flowers. And then like my knee-jerk reaction was like, I'm gonna have to block her again. And I was like, no, you're not. You're gonna go to work with this one.
Right. So I don't know how to work with these neighbors. I don't float. We walk.
Can I jump? I don't know if this is a.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Okay. Kendra, I don't know if this relates, because I can't stand it when people go, I have the exact same thing. I'm like, no, you didn't. But no, I'm just kidding. That's a judgment on my part. But anyway, Kendra, I don't know if this relates, but I had a third time where I had a crazy boss. And I was like, okay, there's one constant. And I'm the constant. And I'm like, this is whatever is going on here. And, and the first time I had the really hard boss, I learned a ton. ton. And I left. Right.
Mhm.
And then the second time I had the crazy situation, I learned a ton, and I left. And the third time I had, and I stayed. Not, and I mean, and I was having diarrhea and throwing up every day for a year. And my husband said, why don't you quit? And I said, because I've got to figure this out. I keep leaving and I just keep finding it. There's something I just kept praying and doing energy work. And it finally, I did some there's a million things. We all come to the top of the mountain, but I stayed with it. And I knew, I'm like, this is me. I don't know what this is. And there's so many things it was about, right? Whatever your thing is, I think if it's relating to this is so it's not about that, but it's about the fact that I just really was like, okay, I'm not going to run. Oh girl, I wanted to run. And I'm not going to, because that's how I blocked you, right? Like, I mean, I just got rid of people. I cut people. That was survival for me as a kid growing up in the abusive trauma. You cut people out so you didn't die.
Yeah.
But then when you become an adult and you get to choose the people, like, I mean, it was really rough the first time I got in a big fight with my husband. And I was like, ooh, divorce your ass, like, and that's just what I do. And my husband still teases me. He's like, how many times you divorced me this week? I'm like, 17 in my head.
Yeah.
I'm staying. He was my first lesson to stay.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it wasn't
Amazing.
about them and whether or not they were trustworthy. I was trustworthy. I knew if I could get still, when to back away a little, when to put up when to end a phone call, how to teach a person to talk to me, all of the things. Because I didn't want to show up for myself because I was afraid people would say something like, you're not worth it. Shut up. No one cares about you. You don't get to have any wants. So I'll just block you out. Right.
Yeah.
Then I don't have to get vulnerable and ask for what I need and possibly, because that's what, I, again, love my mom and dad, but it was bad for a while. Anyway, so I just wanted to share that. Like, and it was the third time that I stayed. I'm still transforming. You guys are a part of it. This is part of it. And I am in the same place with the same boss. And it is like, I'm like, oh, she's so much better now. That's great.
I have a testimony for a situation like that. Do I have time, Reverend Cynthia?
Is it short?
It's short.
Okay.
I visited my daughter in Atlanta, Georgia, when she had her last baby, newborn. I came out, she was having postpartum. They were just moved in a place, they were downstairs, and there were people that lived on top. Well, it did, because of the way the building was, it sounded like they were coming through the roof. They were literally waking up the newborn, right? So my daughter was quick to, to get a fence and have attitude and things like that. And I said, no, these are your neighbors. Love thy neighbor. So we were at the grocery store and I said, they have kids. I'm going to buy a box of popsicles. I bought a box of popsicles and I took them upstairs, right? And they were like, oh, I said, these are for the kids. Because then I started, when I knocked on the door, well, I would, go and say, hey, we have a big newborn downstairs. And they said, oh, okay. But they kept doing it. So I didn't want to create no friction. So I got popsicles instead. And then they start becoming more aware of what they were doing eventually. You know what I mean? And, but you live upstairs, I know, but I'm just saying if there's a way that you can make peace with them to where they're more conscious or want to be more conscious or something like that. And it did work. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not there yet.
Or asking the question, Kendra, how is the universe trying to grow me right now?
Oof. Yeah.
And what is it that it's seeking to cultivate within me? And then usually once we get that, then the lesson ceases.
Yeah.
Right. Then it can move on and it'll bring us another one.
Yep.
Curtis.
There you go. Just real short.
Yes.
I became a truck driver. It was a blessing. And I had a practice then. And being in that truck, traveling from LA to New York or Seattle to Boston, I was in my own space. And I would do mantras, I would pray. And I felt for hours, for like 10 hours or 12 hours, and I was so high in a sense. And so when I had to deal with someone in New York at a dock or whatever, nothing bothered me. I was just like, I mean, I would get the finger, I get all kind of stuff was going on. And but I was so peaceful. Nothing really bothered me over time. Um, it was like the universe was saying, like, okay, Curtis, it's time for you to get married because you're just having too much fun. Nothing's bothering you. And so we need to put you in a position where your stuff it's time for it to come up because you're not going to get there just sitting on a mountaintop in your
Right.
truck. And so these things have to show up in your life because you got stuff you have to work through. And so, I mean, it was my prayer indirectly to work on myself, and it was this time for it to show up. And so the uncomfortability came up, and I had a choice to work on it. And so, I mean, Kendra, that's what I'm kind of hearing, because if you were at work physically
I
at
hear
a
you
building
100.
and all the stuff that you had to deal with from different people, from driving, from this, that, going to get lunch, all the people that would piss you off. So here you are in your little cubicle in your home, and you trying to say, nope, 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 nope. And it's showing up in that way.
Is showing up.
And so
Yeah.
you have an opportunity, and the tools are here for you to practice, And so that's,
Yeah.
I'm
I
sending
hear
you
you.
love.
Thank
Really.
you. Thank you. I'm feeling it, receiving it. That is. Thank you.
Oh my God, you guys, I feel
It's
like
your gig, Kendra. It's your gig.
Yep. It
wow.
really is.
So yeah, I mean, Reverend Michael says it, Dr. Seuss says it, right? That life really is in our favor. So if we become curious and lean in a little bit to whatever it is that's happening, then we'll start to get the information of what it's up to with us. And then it'll be like exit stage left. Oh, the neighbor just happened to move. Like my neighbor eventually came and said that they were only here because his grandmother was getting ready to transition, or because his grandmother was here and there was no other family, and now she's getting ready to transition, so they'll be going back to whatever state they came from. And not that I'm happy at all about the transitioning grandmother, but I thought that's interesting, right? That he came over to tell me he'll be moving soon. Not that he has to for me to feel better, but I thought that was interesting. So
He's ready to move on and be somebody else's lesson.
but thank you. I like that. Oh my gosh. So let me see. There was so much in this chapter. If you guys haven't read it, that's okay. It talks about how it helps us to eliminate our conditionality, right? A lot of us go to agape. I think all of us go to agape, and agape means unconditional love. And Dr. Sue made it a point at one point to say that this love is actually beyond unconditional, because unconditional still implies conditional, right? So we're actually trying to access like the way that God loves, the love that God is. So this work helps us to do away with that conditionality. Like, I can love you if you behave in a way that doesn't bother me. Sure, I'll, that's what we're trying to do away with. Attachment. One of the mantras that I work with, because the way in which humanity evolves, we move through cycles similar to the seasons that we see in nature, right? So we go through the creation phase, and then we go through the sustaining phase, and then the deconstruction, and then the void, which is like spring is creation, summer is sustaining, deconstruction is the fall, and winter is the void. So if you and I know that we're inevitably going to experience these seasons repeatedly over time, but we show up 110% to the opportunities that are presenting themselves to us in life, and we know that we're connected to everything. Can I be connected? I'm connected to everything, attached to nothing. Because here comes that cycle. I see the leaves are starting to fall. Let me get really good at letting go, because it's time, right? To start to let go. But in the meantime, you and I are all in, we roll up our sleeves, we show up 110%, and we hang out during the creation phase, the sustaining phase. We see the leaves turning, and we start to pull back. And then eventually we got to roll up into the little fetus, because it's time to go back in the womb so that we can be nurtured in whatever way spirit needs to nurture us, because we're about to have a rebirth, right? So connected to everything, attached to nothing is a mantra that I try to work with, especially because we get so attached to how things are, right? It's like we're holding on with the death grip and we don't even realize it. So let's see. As we work more with the heart code, our sense of well-being is not dependent so much on the behavior of others. I think we've been talking about this tonight, right? And the empowerment that comes with that, not needing somebody else to change for us to be okay, right? And one of the questions I would ask myself is, if this person or this situation never changes, what do I need to do to be okay? And it's not going to be like rearranging my bedroom, right? It's like interior work usually for me. So that's one thing. It feels like a dire way of looking at things, but it's almost like a fast track, like getting on the, what do they call those lanes? The fast lane on the freeway, right? To transformation. When you take it on at that level, at that degree. If this person never changes or that situation doesn't change, what do I need to do to be okay and even beyond okay? And then being available, right, to like the insights that start to reveal themselves to you. And what ends up happening is that you and I start to access parts of us that we didn't know prior to the experience. And in the end, you're like, I'm kind of glad that happened. way in the end.
So do you mean like something like you might have to let go?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you may have to let go. All right. We can simply be present. No longer disappointed by the way others respond or interact is something that starts to happen. And I think there are characters that make it really obvious for us. So we start working with that right away. And for me, the one that took me by surprise or has taken me by surprise sometimes is like when it's my teachers or my mentors that they behave in a certain way, and it like broke my heart. Dr. Sue was sharing a story this weekend about how when she first started, she was following a guru, and she would organize her schedule so that she could travel to be with him during the teachings, and she was still running her chiropractic business. And then later on, she started to find out that he was asking people to raise funds to supposedly build things for villages in India, and was pocketing the money. So like that was devastating to her. And somebody asked her about that experience, and she said, when she got to the other side of it, she said, she went home and she was brokenhearted, and she shared it with her dad. And her dad said these few words. He said, then become the person that you thought they were. And be that. And it changed her life. It changed her life.
Say it again.
Become the person that you thought they were. And just be.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
So when we hold teachers up on a pedestal, and if we were disappointed because of their humanness, then we get to become the person that we wanted them to be or that we thought they were.
Oh, that makes me want to cry.
Hmm.
That's beautiful.
Isn't it? So it's like, it's kind of, so I think that the training ground is us working with not being disappointed how others respond or interact when it comes to like friends, coworkers, and family. But when it comes to people that we look up to, that might blindside us. So I wanted to share that story with you. But know that even that would be working to bring out another part of you that you didn't yet know, right? Because then that's the invitation for you to become that thing. So, so I took a lot of notes. I'll share some of these in the email with you guys because I want to do the generating loving presence with you guys. And I also want to hear Christy's and Jennifer's voices before we do that. Jen, you want to go?
Hi, everyone. I told you I'm on the East Coast. I'm in New York, so usually I'm in bed at this time. So sometimes it's hard for me. Very low energy at this hour. No, the heart chakra, that this chapter was interesting to me because I've been having not all the time, but every now and then the back of my heart, like Lisa was saying, I get a pain back there, and it's not a consistent pain, but it shows up every so often, you know. And I've noticed I'm taking time with it now, where I'm not trying to figure out like, oh, did I sleep wrong? Was it my head wrong or whatever like that? I'm more of saying, okay, I think there's some healing need to be done still, and it's in the back of the heart. So I've been working on that.
And that's where they say that we have a sacred chamber where the divine spirit, the divine spark of the spark of the divine resides within each of us, that it's on the backside of the heart. Right.
Yeah, it was interesting because this week when it happened, and it was only for a brief, like maybe not even 20 minutes, where it's bothering me. But I realized this week where I said, oh, I used to have this pain a long time ago. With the person I live with in the long-term relationship, I would have that pain a lot during those years, but I wasn't in this space that I am now. So I always thought it was, I pulled something in my neck, I slept wrong or something. And I remember back then it would last for days.
Wow.
Where I couldn't move my head one of the ways, and it was the back of the heart.
Wow. Okay. So there's a couple of exercises that we can do to start to open this if you're able to, or when you are able to. One of them is to raise your hands up like this with your palms open. And then on the way down, you close them and you pull down. And then you go up, open palms, and then pull down, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close. So that's one. The other one is to take your thumbs and put them like underneath, almost close to your armpits, and then the rest of the fingers go on the chest. And then oh no, wait, it's the other way.
Your name is right over your hands. Can you like move up? There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So we have our thumbs are going to go like on the side here, and the rest of the fingers are going to go on the chest. And then you're going to push back and come, push back and come, push back and come, push back and come. And this helps to open it on the front and the back side for that. And then somebody was talking about breath of fire earlier in the week, Lisa. So, oh, she's not here, Becky. Okay, maybe she'll watch the recording. So let me tilt this down. And this was one of the shortcuts that I gave you, I think in week 1, where I said there aren't many shortcuts. But if you put your hands here at just around the level of the navel or just below, and you use your hands like you're slicing, so you exhale on the out through the nose. This helps with the sacral chakra, which is connected to the feeling body. So if we're carrying a lot of emotions, we can address them here at the heart, or you can also do that exercise to slice through the bag that holds all of those emotions. So that's another technique to help us. And then I'm going to invite you guys to get comfy while I grab something. All right, so we're just going to do, so there's a couple of exercises for the heart chakra. Generating loving presence is one of them, so I'm going to facilitate that for you. And then you'll have this recording to listen to it again. So I invite you to sit back and close your eyes. And let's just take a deep breath in. No anchor points, just breathing in deeply. And so begin by thinking of someone or something that you dearly love. It could be a friend, a family member, a pet, your childhood sweetheart, your current sweetheart, or the soulmate you haven't yet met. It could be the love of spring, a favorite place, a cherished memory, or even an object that has great meaning for you. Choose anything that generates the sensation of love within you. As you call up this person or thing that you love, understand that this object of love is actually revealing the vibration of love to you. It doesn't bring love to you, it brings up love from within you so that your mind can perceive the love you already have inside of you, the love that you are. It causes you to come out. Now, fill your heart with the presence of this person, object, or memory. Fill your senses with this image, and then take your attention to the body. Sense how you feel inside when you think of this person, thing, or memory. Now you're going to turn the volume up on this experience. We're going to double it. And then we're going to double it again. So fill your body with the love that you have for this person or thing, and then let it overflow into the room that you're in. Now make it even bigger than the room by dropping into the experience completely with every part of your concentration. Just notice how you feel in your body as all of this love is happening. And memorize how it feels. Now place your hand on your heart and say to yourself, "This is for me." As you open to receive it all, drop the love that is bigger than the room into the center of your own being and receive it fully. Call it home to you. Come back onto subject and feel it in every crevice of your body. Your toes, your ankles, your calves, your knees, your hips, your lower back, your belly, your ribs, your underarms, your shoulders, your arms, your fingers, your shoulders, your neck, your chin, your ears, your scalp, your forehead, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your hair, your fingernails. Nurture this feeling and vibration of unconditional love. And let's take a few deep breaths in. Now we are going to do this again, but this time, think of a moment when you felt completely, unconditionally, unwaveringly loved. Maybe it was being loved by a grandparent, maybe a parent, maybe a partner or a best friend. It could even be a pet. And if you can't locate an experience, this is the best use of the imagination. You get to make it up. As you call up this person or pet that loved you, remember this object of love is actually revealing the vibration of love to you. It doesn't bring love to you. It brings up love from within you so that your mind can perceive the love you already have inside of you, the love that you are. Now fill your heart with the presence of this person, this object or memory. Fill your senses with this image. And now take your attention to your body and sense how you feel inside when you think of this image. Next, we are going to turn up the volume on this experience. Now we're going to double it. Now we're going to double it again. Filling all the cells in your body with the love that you experienced from this person or pet, and then let it overflow into the room. Now allow it to become even bigger than the room by dropping it into the experience complete, by dropping into the experience complete. And again, notice how it feels in your body as all of this love is happening. And with your hand over your heart, say, "This is for me." Open to receive it all. Drop the love that is bigger than the room into the center of your own being and receive it fully. Call it home to you. Come back onto subject and feel it in every crevice of your body. Notice if there is any area that has a charge. Is there any area that feels tight in the body? If so, squeeze it internally and breathe down through the central channel. So squeezing it and taking a breath in from overhead, and then dropping it to the center of the earth, opening the bottoms of your feet. And now lift your toes off the ground and lay them back down. And now we're going to breathe up from the earth into that area of the body again, if you felt a charge somewhere. And exhale through the crown. And visualizing all of this love pouring in from overhead, from heaven, from spirit into that area of the body, saturating it. Letting it saturate the area and then exhaling down the rest of it into Mother Earth. And once again, just lifting your toes and wiggling them. And coming back to your heart. And one more time saying, this love is for me. So I invite you to open your eyes and come back when you're ready. And so as we work with generating the love inside of the body, the mind starts to perceive it, right? And it starts to soften. It stops being so rigid. It becomes more flexible, more easy to work with, right? It becomes like a better co-worker. So that one's called Generating Loving Presence. And you can go back and listen to that one. And then on the resource page, Dr. Sue has the breath work for the heart. And that one's pretty simple. And she shows the yoga poses as well. Let me see if there's anything else. Just some of the things that get worked on, or some of the backside symptoms, like for you to know how to go to work with the heart chakra. So if you're feeling disconnected from others, from love, or from yourself, when you're feeling anxiety or depression or loneliness, if you're having heart troubles, circulatory problems, breathing issues, an inability to take in and receive, then we know that this is the area that we're going to be working with. So a lot of us are really good givers, not so great at receiving. We go to work on this area, and then it helps us open up and become available, because we need to be able to participate, right, in the full circulation. And the front side, some of the things that you start to notice as we work with this chakra is that there's more patience, there's less judging going on, we're more forgiving, we're more relaxed in the body, and we appreciate life, right? Even when it shows up in its challenges, there's still like this undergirding appreciation for simply being alive that starts to happen. Did anybody have a hard time with the exercise at all, or how was that for you?
No. Did you send this out before, or did it? Did you send this out?
I think I recorded a video of it, and
Yeah, because I remember your voice, and I remember, I'm like, wait a minute, there we go in the Twilight Zone. No, because but yes, oh my God. My mother was my best friend.
Really?
And yeah, and she showed up today while I was in the store. And then when you did that just now, it's like her presence was right here. Right here. And I started crying because she knows me. If nobody knew me, it was her. She understood me. She, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Anything that they'd like to share before we close out for today? So next week we'll be reading the breath code. So that this chapter has all of them. So it has the central channel breath, which is for chakras 1 through 7. And then it has the one for chakra 2, 3, 4, 5. So don't feel like you have to master all the breath codes in this chapter before next week. But if you want to try one or two, there's one in there called the healing, the healing breath. So for anybody that's dealing with a condition or aches and pains, I definitely recommend working with that one. And of course the heart one as well. And then the week after we won't have class because I'll be traveling the 23rd, and then we'll be back the following Tuesday after them. So next week we'll read we'll read the breath code, and then you guys will have a week off, and then we'll start again. So thank you so much for all of the amazing shares. I feel like I was sitting in a room full of teachers and gurus, so thank you.
Oh, happy Mother's Day to everyone.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's
Christy,
Day.
Christy, we have to hear from you.
Oh, she got away.
Hi, everybody. I appreciate everybody sharing. I just literally ran in the door tonight. I'd been going, and I just appreciate all of you sharing. And this chapter was wonderful for me in so many ways. When Dr. Sue shared about her mother passing, I could relate when my father passed. I've actually lost both parents, but all the things she saw with the clovers, mine were geese, my dad coming to me through the geese. And I really, so that took me down a whole path. But the other thing that I really loved in here, and I'm trying to find my notes, was how she said to heal the body, we must be in the body. And to heal, we must be in the body in love. And that love is a great neutralizer. And when my father passed away in 2015, it's kind of like I realized that he had transitioned. I then discovered agape, and it took me down this path to learn about energy work. And so when she was talking about love being the neutralizer, a lot of my life I lived in fear. And then learning that there's like the two, fear and love. And so this whole chapter was just wonderful for me. And it started to all make sense. How I grew up, my father was more of a spiritual being. My mom, there were always conditions. And I didn't realize that till after losing my father. I mean, my mom and I kind of had walked down a different path. I loved her immensely. I miss her dearly. But to see in this chapter, it was like I had all these aha moments.
Wow.
About what my life was and where I've come. And, I've suffered some health problems from that. And just, learning more holistic ways to move down that path. And this energy code work is showing me that I'm on the right path. And we really do have the ability to heal ourselves. And I've seen that. And Chimpy's reference to the foot, I thought that was great. So anyway, that was my week.
Thank you so much, Christy.
Thank you.
All right. So if you're ready, you guys, I'll pray us out, and I will see you next week. So let's just turn within and take a breath in. To how grateful and thankful I am for this incredible love that we get to share with one another, that we get to take out into the world, and that we get to allow ourselves to receive it as well as we place our hands over our hearts and we say, this love is for me. And to begin to recognize that it is what we are made out of. For God truly is this divine love, and we're made out of its own substance. And so we get to allow this love to have full sway. We get to allow love to be what matters most, and for it to begin to express through us in whatever way is authentic to love, and that includes us. It includes the best and highest good for all, whether that is setting boundaries, dropping into our hearts and saying the things that might be difficult to say, but knowing that when our words are infused with the vibration of love, they land the way that they need to land. So we can say anything that is infused with this vibration of love. And so how grateful and thankful I am for all that has been shared today, the vulnerability, the authenticity, the willingness of every person that is here, every individual that will listen later, and that we get to allow ourselves to hang out in this field as we shed old ways of perceiving, of being, and ultimately revealing the magnificence that is the truth of each and every single one of us. And so I'm blessing each one of us as we turn in for the evening, go to bed, and continue with our week, knowing that we truly are loved, and loving. Amen.
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 Thank you.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Cynthia.
Love you,
Thank
Reverend
you.
Cynthia.
Thanks,
Have a
energy
great week,
team.
everybody. Love you.
Bye.
All right.
Love
Thank
you
you, all
guys.
of you.
Love
Love all
you.
you.
Bye.
Much